talking about films and filmmaking
Wait, what?
on
We don't do
Film
that
in
here.
Minnesota here. Yeah. So back to our regularly scheduled program, Rehana.
I mean, I thought we were here to talk about world traveling, but I guess if we're going to talk about films, we might as well dive in.
Yeah, you really have to be in Fiji or Australia or Europe or wherever you're traveling to really be a travel podcast, I think.
I mean, I've been to Australia. Does that count?
Well, yeah,
I
it
mean,
does, but I mean, you know, the point is to be part of the experience, I think, for traveling, right?
like be there
Yeah, that'd be
to
fun.
talk
Same
about it in
with,
the moment, not talk about it 10 years later.
well, I mean, it counts, obviously, you've been there, but you can
Right.
talk about your experiences. But yeah, same with like, I really want to get like, um, I have a Twitch, so that would be
Oh,
fun to
yeah.
just do like a live stream behind the scenes, but you give things away when you do that, you know?
Yeah, that's the tricky part.
Yeah.
hmm So
I mean,
you'd have to do it in a way, like in a very strategic way, so you know that it's not going to give things away that you don't want to give away, and it's going to just give context,
yeah. Yeah,
but
and
still be very behind the scenes.
but sometimes you see like how long it takes to do certain things, and I've had friends
Oh
who've
yeah,
done that on like less high context, or,
yeah,
they don't really care that this is being exploited because it's like just for
right.
content versus a film. I guess this fan film is that's we're going to talk about later is kind of just content, not
Mhm.
really as a film per se. So I don't know.
But it's so fun though.
Yeah,
That's the thing. Like, and it's not just like your everyday, like whatever fan film. Like, it's about something so specific that people feel so attached to that giving away little bits and pieces, I feel like is still something you'd want to like kind of hold
hmm,
close. So I can
yeah,
understand that.
yeah, and we understand that from watching the films we watched this summer. Um, have you seen a few
There,
films this summer, Rahana?
oh my gosh. Okay, so I've seen so many films so far. Um, I don't honestly think that I've disliked, well, that's not true. I've disliked a couple, but the majority I've really enjoyed. I feel like we've got some great films that have been coming out, which is really, really nice. Especially because we're, getting back to like pretty consistent theater watching. Um, and I love it. And some of the films that we've gotten to see recently, we've even gotten to go to like the IMAX Dolby uh, screens, like the giant screens and everything. They're really fancy seats that have literally like the Dolby sound. So it's crazy and all over the place. And then like one of them, I think the seats were like also like rumble, like when certain things happen. Not crazy, but like enough to where like as like in I think it was John Wick that we actually went and saw it in. So this was a while ago, but like gunshots are happening or like cars are crashing or something and the seats would like kind of rumble. So like you feel more in like engaged. It was really cool. Anyway, but so a couple of the movies I saw recently, kind of recently, that I really, really enjoyed that I want to talk about are Oppenheimer and Mission Impossible 7. And I want to kind of start out and preface Mission Impossible words, Mission Impossible 7 by saying, historically, I do not like Tom Cruise as an actor. I think
As a person, maybe more than an
no, like
actor?
as an actor. I
As an
mean,
actor
I
too,
don't
okay.
particularly like him as a person. He's fine.
Right.
I've been told he's way too intense, which is not surprising.
Hmm.
Um, or not told. I've heard from interviews of other people. I haven't been told. No one I know knows Tom Cruise, and if you do, please speak up.
Yeah.
Anyway, but I don't really like him as an actor. I think all of his early stuff, he is very one-dimensional. He's one character in everything. And I find it boring and dull, and I have no interest. Um, it, I recently watched The Last Samurai, I believe
Yeah.
it is, with him for the first time, not expecting to like it. So good.
Yeah.
So good. And I was impressed with him in that. I was like, okay, no, it's better than I expected. The film was wonderful. And then went and saw Top Gun, which we talked about on the Oscar episode. Really enjoyed that. And I thought that there was a couple of amazing moments in there that were some of his best acting. And I will say, Tropic Thunder is definitely his best performance ever and one of my favorites. I love it so much. Amazing comedy. Anyway, that's beside the point. So I had not seen any of the Mission Impossible movies.
Wow, really?
Yeah, I didn't want to. Tom Cruise is dumb and boring, and it just looks like the same movie over and over and over and over again. And I'm good. So I had no interest. Jared loves them. He loves Tom Cruise. Got it. So he's like, I really want to see this. I'm like, all right, fine. We will go watch it. He's like, but to get the context, you should really see 6. I was like, okay, we can watch 6. And he's like, well, I feel like 5 and 6 make more sense. I was like, okay, we can watch 5 and 6. And then I'm pretty sure, was it 4? No, it was just 5 and 6. And so I was like, all right, fine. So we watched 5. I was like, okay, that was really good. And then we watched 6 and I was like, that was really good. I'm so interested. We went and saw 7, which we'll talk about in a second. And then afterwards, he had been mentioning that I think it was 3 is his favorite, the one with Philip Seymour Hoffman, because Philip Seymour Hoffman is brilliant and he plays that role unbelievably well. And so I was like, well, I mean, I'm always in for some Philip Seymour Hoffman. So we watched it and I was like, my God, that was good. So now I actually want to watch 4. He said 1 and 2 are pretty standalone meh for what I would like. So, but super, super enjoyable. And so we went and saw 7 and I was so engaged and so excited. And I was like, there were so many moments where I was like, holy shit, how am I this excited about this movie? How do I care this much about what's going on? Totally unexpected. And like, there were so many times I verbally reacted, not by talking, but by like laughing or gasping or like jumping and like yelping, I guess. I don't know what the right term is, but like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because I was enjoying it so much. Tom Cruise wasn't bad. He wasn't. I don't think he was amazing by any means, but he wasn't bad. It was fun. And just the other characters that are in that I guess I didn't realize were really part of that world. I think are part of what made it extra enjoyable for me. And then the fact that what's her name? Haley Atwell? Yeah. Haley Atwell, who plays Chris Evans, or Captain America's love interest in Captain America. The first one. She's in it, which I didn't remember being the case. Maybe it's not in the trailer and I just spoiled it. Spoiler alert, ? But her being in it also made me more like engaged and excited because I really like her and haven't seen her in a ton of stuff. So I was really excited. And then her character was fantastic. I thought she did a great job because it was so multidimensional. And you just never quite knew what was going to happen with her. And then when you did, it didn't even matter because you were so excited to see how it was going to go. It was fantastic.
As per usual, we will be spoiling, so this is your warning. Get out.
Yeah. All the spoilers.
Yeah, we'll be talking about this. So, Mission Impossible. I just saw it this week, so it was.
So, what were your thoughts? I give it a solid 8.5 out of 10.
Whoa,
I would say
that's high. Okay.
It is because I really enjoyed it a lot more than I thought I was, and maybe it's because I had such low expectations for Mission Impossible in general, and then I liked 5, and then I liked 6 more, but then 7. I think that's what like made it that for me. So, but continue.
This one has a lot of callbacks, even to the first one.
Okay.
Because that's what made it, what started it all. So,
yeah.
it's funny because I could do without two. And like, if you skip any, you skip two.
Okay.
But number one is excellent, I thought, in its time, of course, because this is before the digital switch, maybe. I don't know when this was. Like 90s, I think. Let's see.
The first one?
Yeah. Double check.
Oh gosh.
96 was the first one.
That's insane. Are you serious?
Yes.
Oh my God.
And this will
96.
end by like 2026 or something. We're thinking, or 2025.
The next one comes out in 2024.
Oh, they're done. Like, those are set to go. We're not waiting on the strike for that.
Well, that's true. That would probably push it out.
Unless they made part 1 and 2 together. I don't know.
They did.
Okay.
But apparently, Christopher McQuarrie said that Dead Reckoning Part 1 and Part 2 will not end the series, as there are developments for future installments.
Yeah, I can see that happening. I wonder if that means that Tom Cruise will not be involved in the future. But
apparently he said that he would like to keep making these films until he's likewise in his 80s.
Yes, okay.
So he's going to be in them until he's not allowed to anymore.
Gotcha. There might be other contracts that might be up, though. Okay, good to know. So let me talk about Dead Reckoning first. So at first, I felt like it was a little slow at first. Like, okay, I get it. They're setting up what they're about to do for this run of like 1 and 2 here. But and the writing, some of the dialogue scenes went on a little too long for me. That's maybe my only gripe. But the action is top notch as per usual with the last, 4 of them here?
Mm-hmm.
Since like 1, 2, and 3 are kind of in their own group, and then 4, 5, 6, and now 7 are in this Skydance, mall, if you will.
Yep.
Production. J.J. Abrams, I think that is his production company, is Skydance. Yeah, I don't know if that's true, but
maybe.
But it's Skydance who produced it, and that was also behind Star Trek, and I think, as I recall, that might be J.J. Abrams. But fact check that for me, will you?
Got it.
But in this one, it was a lot of fun to see them just pull off another big stunt, and it's in the previews, the trailers. It's just like the train scene where they're hopping between cars and just trying to get off the track. Like, I can kind of see where it's all going at first, but then it's like, all the sleight of hand stuff that was really cool too and fun. Although I'm really confused, like, about Atwell's character, right? Haley Atwell, was it?
Really?
Because she doesn't know how to drive, and then they're like, "Yeah, you can be an agent." It's like, wait a minute here.
Well, hold on. She doesn't know how to drive a stick. That's different.
Oh, was that what was going on?
That's what it was.
Okay.
It was
with
it was
the
a manual.
Fiat.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So it was a manual.
Was it the Fiat? Or was it
like
the
other
little car?
No, it was the. Wait, it was the little.
It wasn't the Fiat because
car.
It was the sports car first, right? Then they got into the Fiat. Because he was like looking for another car because they were in one.
Oh,
but then they crashed that or something. But she crashed into bikes with that because that was stick, right?
Yeah, and no, he was saying that they had to ditch that car to get a non-conspicuous one or something. But it was through. Yeah, it was a whole thing.
I love that moment. I love that moment where it's like, there's this great sports car here, and then it's the Fiat. It's like, what?
Yes.
It's like, if only it were like, it reminded me of The Italian Job with Charlize Theron and Mark Wahlberg with the Mini Coopers, which they revved up or souped up.
Yeah.
But just one.
So just one.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was that was a really funny moment.
A lot of good car chases. Chases in general, I'd say. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Hopping in. J.J. Abrams has, it looks like, nothing to do with Skydance.
Oh, okay. Dang it.
It's someone named David Ellison.
Okay.
Do we know who that is?
I
No?
don't know. David, why don't you make a film in Minnesota? We can talk.
Yeah, let's do it. Love to have you on.
But yeah, tons of production. You can tell.
Oh, yeah.
What was the budget on this? Like 28? No, not 28, but 280 or something?
Oh, I mean, that's a great question.
I just looked
It's
it up
got
the
to
other
be
day. Oh,
estimated budget of
290
291. Yeah. One of the most expensive films
million.
ever made. And the most expensive in the franchise, which is not surprising because they keep just ramping up. So,
But that's the part I maybe am wondering is like, is this just for part one? Because if they made them simultaneously, then it's kind of both part one and part two, maybe. Kind of like, I don't know where you would divide the budget on, like, what was it?
oh,
Like Avengers, right? Endgame and
yeah,
Infinity War. So those are two different films, but like you
right.
were mentioning before we came on air, it was like 7.1, 7.2, and then
That's a good point. Yeah, I don't
so
know.
you should watch one, because it does show you meet Ving Rhames there, obviously Tom Cruise,
Hmm.
and a character that came back in this one, Kittredge. So it
Okay.
was kind of like, they replaced Alec Baldwin here. Okay. Because we
Yeah.
all know what happened here with Rust, and it's like,
Yeah.
not gonna have to. We're gonna have to cut you from this. Yeah, probably that's what happened. Is what I was thinking. And I liked it. It's part of the franchise still. It brings
Yeah.
back part one, but also Vanessa Kirby.
Oh,
Who's the
she's
White
so
Widow.
good. Oh my gosh. Yeah. So happy that she was back in this. Um, and I feel like
From
she was able to do more with her role in this one, which was fantastic.
yeah.
Yeah.
The Entity, though, I had a problem with that. I was just kind of like,
Yeah.
it feels like, you remember, what was it, like 1999 or 2000-ish? There were a lot of AI films at that time also.
Mm.
And it was kind of like, oh, this coming to get you, AI, this, it's going to take over the world. 20 years later, we're
Yeah.
having the same films come out. Just the same idea of like, be afraid of this thing because it, could improve your life, but then when it doesn't,
Hmm.
because we got like Megan early this year, and what
Yeah.
else has been AI? That there's that Rogue One director has that new film coming out with AI. The child is like a machine, but has
Oh, the one with baby Denzel?
Baby Denzel, yes.
Yeah. That looks so good.
Yeah.
That looks super, super good. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I
Yeah.
keep forgetting about that. And every now and again, we'll come across the trailer and I'm like, damn it, that's right. That looks fantastic.
Yeah, I think it's in August here. But
Yeah.
yeah, so we got a few films that are just circling around the same drain, if
Yeah.
you will. And it will be a like kind of a thing that will stay within its time, and then we'll move on to the next thing, or whatever.
I feel like the whole AI thing is so prevalent right now, though, especially in film. The strike is
Right.
happening, and AI is a big part of that. And
Mhm.
so, even though I feel like it's kind of just a reiteration of like you were saying, that whole thing that everybody was doing, and now everybody's doing it again. But it's so much more realistic today, where it's actually like a thing, like that. I feel like it's more understandable, or it's understandable that it's coming back and it's being so like heavily hit on,
Mhm.
and that makes it more intriguing, at least to me.
Mhm.
Still terrifying though.
Right.
Like, no, thank you.
Yeah. Well, it's gonna come one way or another. We just have to learn how
Right.
to either live with it or control it, as they were mentioning in the film.
Right. Yeah.
Like,
Yep.
I want to control it. It's like, or everyone wants to control it. And what was
Yeah.
his solution? So that's the how.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was just, and then like Simon Pegg was back. That's good.
Simon Pegg is so good in these movies.
Yeah.
Honestly, he's one of my favorite parts. Like
I think
Simon Pegg and Ving Rhames and Tom Cruise together, like their like chemistry and the way that they go back and forth, the three of them, loved it so much.
even when they're not even in the same scene per se, or like
Yeah,
physically, they're just talking over comms. It could be anywhere
Yep.
differently.
exactly. It's even more fun that way. I think, because you're seeing each of them just right there trying to have this conversation with someone who's not right there. And they're like giving, like, just jabbing at each other. And it's so funny and so quick, like so quick-witted. I loved it.
But with AI, they could be there in a sense to act off of. Just saying.
I mean, there is that.
I understand that too, because it's like I just saw from SAG-AFTRA on their Instagram the guy who is like a voiceover actor, and it said something he never said. And it was all his voice, and it was like, I never said that.
What? Yeah, he's like,
and
this
that was
is
all
terrifying.
AI, and it was just like,
yeah, terrifying. It's insane. At this point, like, you can't believe anything about anything unless
and that's
you were
what
just
this
right in front
film
of it.
went over too. Like when he thought he was talking to Simon Pegg, and it was like,
oh yeah,
he's not.
Frustrating and infuriating and terrifying all in one. But yeah, I mean, that's the stuff that freaks me out, where I'm like, so if you don't see something with your own eyes, if this, like, basically if people post videos or pictures or whatever, I mean, pictures even today, but like someone could post a video of like us podcasting and be like, but is it like real? Are they really podcasting or no? And so like, maybe don't believe everything that we're saying here. Maybe I'm AI and I'm giving it an 8.5, but really it's a 2. What then, people? You don't know.
Yeah.
You can't hold me accountable for anything now.
That type of counterintelligence, I mean, from the very beginning, even, it was like, ooh, it wasn't even there, but
right.
We trusted the machine to tell us where it was,
Yeah, that was trippy.
It's like, ooh. And then the Gabriel character who represents the entity in this film, and it's just like, is he real? It's like, it's kind of like weird the way he is. It's like, it's the way his character is structured is like it's fated to be this way. And
honestly, having never seen 1, 2, 3, 4, but at the time that I was watching this, I've now seen 3. I watched this and just assumed that he had been in a previous movie, that like he had been some bad guy from like 1, 2, or 4 that I haven't seen. And I was like, oh, he's back. Interesting. Okay. And that's how I took his character. And then Jared's like, no, this was not he's new. I was like, really? Because the way that they like play off of him, and he, like, his vibe in the film is very like, I've been around and you know who I am and you should be too.
Yeah.
And it's very, it was interesting, which I mean, really speaks to that guy's performance. I don't know who it was. I don't remember. But yeah.
Let's see.
So I mean, if anything, that just, shows how excellent he did with the role. So that was pretty sweet. I thought. What?
His name is ESAI. AI's in his name. Morales. So you say Morales, or I'm not sure how to pronounce it, but we'll have Alejandro dial that up for us. He'll correct us. Alejandro, leave us a note, a comment, something.
I mean, there isn't even like a phonetics on how to say this on his page. I have no idea. Sai Morales? I don't know.
But yeah, it's that character was very interesting. I'm like, this was before 1 then, but we have Kittredge back from number 1. And I
Yeah.
guess 2 makes sense for number 3, because
Hmm.
otherwise 3 doesn't make sense without 2. It's just like kind of like, well, okay, you
Right.
do have to kind of watch them all. They do have a common thread with Ethan's character. So,
Right. Hmm.
mm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I,
I Tom Cruise originally said he'd be happy making 10 of these. So it doesn't surprise me that he's made that comment either. So he's
yeah.
like, I'm like, oh, is this near the end, or like after 8 we're done? And it's like that's a weird number to stop at, but uh,
I mean,
I think they got
yeah.
more in them. It just depends on the
Oh, for
supporting
sure.
cast, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And honestly, I think that they don't do these super frequently. I mean, obviously, they've been going on since for 27 years.
yeah,
And we're only at 7 here. So I mean, I think that it's
that's weird to think. 27 years, jeez.
yeah. So I feel like it could go either way. Like people might say, okay, I've been part of this for so long that I'm okay now, or we don't do a ton of these, so I can fit it in. I love doing it.
Mm-hmm.
If you'll
It,
have me back, I'm good.
it could be like the new Bond thing for
Yeah.
America, like
We were
you
literally
know.
talking about that here. Yeah, that's exactly what Jared said. It's like it's
Mm,
very like American Bond. And I was like, yes,
yeah,
except Bond doesn't change.
yeah.
But
It's like
otherwise,
MI6 or CIA, so
right, yeah. But really cool.
yeah.
So what would you rate it as?
On the IMDb, they do 10 stars, so I give it 7.
Okay. Cool, cool, cool. All right. 7 and 8.5. Um, so moving on from there, Oppenheimer. Um,
A blast from the past.
but um, I I was excited to see it. Um, I love Christopher Nolan. He's probably one of my favorite directors. He's
Mm,
100% by far Jared's favorite. So no matter
right, I
what movie
remember
comes
that.
out, yeah, we're gonna have to go see it. Which I'm good with. Uh, I love his movies that are completely fictional, like just created, written, developed by him or him and his brother or whatever, his family. Um, those are my favorites because I feel like they're so twisty and so engaging, and I can't stop. Like Tenet, I think is I think is my favorite. That or Interstellar are my favorite, or at least
Really?
my top two Christopher Nolan
Okay.
movies. Absolutely love those movies. I could watch them over and over again.
Tenet, huh?
Yeah, a lot of people had issues with Tenet,
Mm,
and I loved it. I really did. And the more I watch it, the more I kind of see things or understand things or pick stuff up, and I'm like, it's
right.
brilliant.
You have to watch
Um,
multiple times to really pick up on the
yeah,
details. Yeah.
right. And I mean, it's just like The Prestige. Like we just recently watched it. Like we've watched that a lot,
Well, it's been
and
a while since I've seen that.
each time you're just like, oh shit, I didn't even pick up on that. Like that's really interesting. Like every little tiny minute detail is thought of, and there's a reason for it all.
Mm.
Um, and because Tenet was so out there and complex,
Yeah.
there's even more of that. And so I think that's why I love it.
That's
Um,
what I've noticed. He kind of goes back and forth between like complete fiction and like somewhere in
yeah,
creative nonfiction world where it's like this really happened, but
yeah,
this is his bend on that or something.
right.
So
Yeah, like he did this, he did Dunkirk.
mhm.
There's another one I'm not
um,
thinking of.
yeah, one based on like true events sort of thing.
Yeah. But anyway, so I mean, those are my favorite uh types of movies that he makes. Obviously everything he makes is excellent. So I wasn't expecting this to be terrible or not entertaining or something. Um, but I I wasn't expecting to like love it. And I'll say that I did. We got out of there and I was like, I think that I would put this not on a scale of what I prefer, like what I like most, but on a scale of what I think is the best out of his movies. Best quality, best like well done acting, just all the things. Not that there's anything it's not good, but I feel like this is probably top three. I'd say this is maybe the third best. Like I would put from my preference to watch Interstellar, Tenet, and then probably Inception. And I think that this would bump Inception down.
Oh.
Because
Where's Dark Knight in your rankings there?
It's below it. I mean, it's not, it's Jared's first or number one. And so
he likes Batman too.
Again.
So
loves Batman.
Yeah.
And Dark Knight is his absolute favorite. But I'd probably do these three: Inception, Prestige, Memento. Memento's good. Maybe Dark Knight.
Yeah.
After that, maybe. Yeah. Trying to remember all of them, but yeah. So it's lower, but I mean, that series, that trilogy, also amazing and excellent.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I was super engaged. I thought it was absolutely wonderful. I did not realize, actually, with both of these movies, I didn't realize how long they were. And even throughout the movie, there was no point where I was like, okay, are we wrapping up? Like, is it almost done? Although I will say, oh no, I'm thinking of a different movie. We'll talk about that next time.
Barbie, huh?
Barbie.
Wrap it up.
Yeah. My experience at the end of that was I had to go to the bathroom so bad because I had downed the entire soda that we had by myself. And it was so long that the last about 15, 20 minutes, I was like, okay, well, it's about to end, so I'm not going to leave.
Right.
And then miss the end. And then it kept going. And I was like, okay, but now it's definitely about to end. So, and I was literally going to die. I was going to just explode. I was going to just not exist anymore. And I couldn't even sit down to the point where I was like lifting myself off the chair. I was like, okay, I have to like wait and just run out the moment that it like cuts to black. And so the last 10 minutes of Barbie, I was like, okay, can we just end it now?
Oh, Barbie?
But only because I was going through that.
I did that for Mission Impossible because it was like they were on the train. It was headed for the bridge. So it was just like, uh-oh, I have to go, but I'm going to miss a lot if I go now.
Right? Yeah. So frustrating. But anyway, so oh God, I totally.
Anyways, Oppenheimer, 3 hours
but yeah,
long.
Oppenheimer. Oh yes, didn't like at no point was I like, oh wow, it's been a long time. There were more characters than I expected. There were more of certain characters than I expected, I should say. I did not expect Albert Einstein to be in it. And I will preface that by saying, I don't know history. I am in no way a history buff. I can't retain that kind of information. Like the only reason I will remember that now is that he was part of this and knew Oppenheimer and was alive then even is because of this movie. I do not retain history well. But so that was surprising. I was like, that's awesome. The cast was fucking brilliant, but it's always brilliant. Like RDJ, amazing.
Rami Malek.
Rami Malek. Oh my God. Okay, so him in the first whole 90% of the movie, he doesn't talk at all.
I know.
He's only in a couple scenes. He doesn't talk at all. He gets swatted away at one point. And I was like, Cillian Murphy, I was like, are you kidding? You were going to do this to Rami Malek? Are you kidding me? And I'm sure that for him, he's like, I'll fucking take a role. Are you kidding? This is no.
It's like being a stormtrooper for Daniel Craig.
Exactly. It's like, if you let me do anything, I'm in. So I was like, I mean, I get that, but it's Rami Malek. And then at the very end, he had the big bombshell, if you will, scene and monologue, and I was like, oh, fuck yes, because you especially don't expect it from him.
Right.
It was amazing.
And it's what's going on here? What?
Yeah.
Why is he here?
Yeah. It was the twistiest of twists, and I loved it. So yeah, that was awesome. And I forgot that Florence Pugh is in it. Um, she was so so great in her role. Um,
Also very naked.
and very naked. Uh, but I mean, she was just so brilliant in the limited, role that she had, and
Yeah.
really popped on screen. Um, and I thought she was fantastic. Um, and Emily Blunt was fucking brilliant. When we got out of the movie, we always have like a big discussion, like, what do you think? What do you think? Blah, 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 kind of diving in, all this stuff. And then at one point, he said, okay, well, you're the actor from the acting perspective. Who do you think was the best actor or best performer in the movie? I was like, hands down, Emily Blunt. Hands down. Um, she is the most dynamic. She is the most, like, her role is the most non Emily Blunt, like not like herself at all
Hmm.
from all of the characters. Um, Everyone else, I mean, obviously everyone's a very specific character and that's not them, but she was the one that stood out to me the most. And he actually thought the same thing. Like, it is so blatantly non Emily Blunt, and she does it so perfectly and so beautifully on screen, even though she is so unhappy and blunt and uh, like so passionate about the things that she's saying. I was
Pun
just
not intended.
I loved it. She was amazing. And even Florence Pugh, honestly, I think that the female characters were the best characters in the film. In my
Well,
point of
they
view.
were like the only two.
Yeah. But they were the best. And I
Yeah.
mean, that's saying something. They were the only two. The cast was huge,
Yeah.
huge. And they were the only two, maybe a couple more that were in like the group of like
Uh-huh.
the scientists and stuff. I don't know because they don't really go into a lot of them. Some of them are just there.
Yeah.
Um, but, but the only two that have, a presence, and they were by far better in my eyes than all of the men who have the more prominent roles and are on screen the majority of the time, um, and who are supposed to be front and center. And
Mm.
these two women are supposed to be very supporting, especially Florence Pugh, who again had limited role, but I thought that they were the best out of the whole film. And I've seen a couple people that we know actually post on Facebook recently saying how terrible Christopher Nolan is at writing female roles, which honestly,
I have a note about that.
yeah, I don't necessarily disagree with, but that's why his films are primarily uh, men. I mean, you have Inception, where you've got um, Marion Cotillard. Oh my God. Anyway,
Yeah.
uh, and and um, and
Elliot
Elliot Page,
Page.
who was then um, on screen as Ellen Page, but um, yeah, uh, and
Yeah.
I'm trying to even think like Interstellar. You had Anne Hathaway and
Mm.
Jessica Chastain, but everyone else, like, there's usually a couple, and that's it. And
Right.
sometimes they are, like, I thought that Interstellar, they were phenomenal. Um,
And then like Tenet, it's like, who?
there's one, and she was fine. She was fine. She was certainly not my favorite part of the movie, even though she
Mm.
had a very pivotal role. But so I don't disagree with that, and I would love to see more women in his films because I think that they are beyond what the male characters have been. And again, I love his films. I do. But without Emily Blunt and without Florence Pugh, I think this movie is significantly less than what it is now.
Right.
Um, So even though he's not good at writing female characters, and he's certainly not good at trying to include women more, like there were so many women that were involved in this actual scenario in real life. Um, and they were not like scientists and that were actually part of it that he did not include, and it was just all men. Um, and so like that's upsetting that was all removed so that we only have two females. Um, so I think that that's something that I that certainly stands out that I don't like about it, but
Yeah.
otherwise, yeah, the women just fucking killed it. Everybody did a great job. They did a phenomenal job. That's my thought. You said you had a thought on that or a
That's
note on that?
fair. Yeah, no, it's fair. I think if Quentin was the one who told me that he really thinks that Christopher Nolan's really good at like story, and Jonathan Nolan's really good at dialogue. And
Yeah.
when they're not working together, you can see where that lacks, and on both ends.
Yeah.
Because you have Westworld, where Jonathan Nolan is working on, and then Christopher Nolan goes to do film, so they're split. Like they're not really working together like they used to. That's why Inception is so much better in the way of writing the dialogue out and such, because they, they're two peas in a pod. It's like, let's split them up. It's like, I don't know about that, but I mean, still, like, yeah, I love the movie. Gosh, there's so much in this film. That I knew I pretty much expected it to go. It went the way I expected it to go. Really focused on Oppenheimer, hence the name of the film. Just going into his life, And we watched actually the Criterion Channel had I think they still might have the free documentary to watch about Oppenheimer.
Oh.
It was called like So Many Days After Trinity or whatever. The Day After Trinity. I think that's what the documentary is called. But they go into all the details of like the history of it, and Edward Teller, who later became the father of the hydrogen bomb, and just like the history of bombs in general, too, in the like prologue beyond that. But they got the history. He got the history down almost precisely. Like it was just like, okay, yeah, that was pretty much everything that was in that documentary we saw just before the movie. And then, like the whole Senate thing, though, I felt like that part with Jason Clarke and them went on a little long. Felt like that could have been a little shorter. That could have cut down like 10 to 30 minutes of the film. I get what they were trying to do between the Senate hearing and that and everything, but I think we lost kind of the soul of like what he was feeling more, and it just became about the circus of Congress or whatever.
Right.
And I get it at that time, like McCarthyism, all that stuff.
Yeah.
But we kind of like lost the moral of what he was, the morality of what he was, the weight of what he was feeling, because that famous quote that Florence Pugh read to him in a special moment was like kind of muffled, because like he said that for a reason when he gave it. I think it was like, was it a lecture or something, or I forget what, but when he said that, it was kind of strange. It was like, why is he saying this? It's like, but because he was so, it was a philosophical thing. It wasn't a science thing. So, and that's something I feel like the film didn't quite hit at the end as strongly as it could have. Ultimately, I think it delivered the message correctly, but it could be interpreted different ways because it didn't really hit on like how he felt based on the results of what he had created, basically. So,
right. Yeah, like you had said earlier, I mean, there's definitely he does take some creative
Ben's approaches.
dead air. uh,
Liberties, creative liberties.
maybe, yeah, something like that. Probably,
Yeah.
but with it, so I mean,
Hmm.
yeah, it makes sense that he would kind of like
Yeah, like
bend
that
it a
whole
bit.
speech about too bad we couldn't use it on the Nazis or something, you know. It's like
Yeah,
it
yeah.
was just kind of like, and then that what he's seeing in that moment is
Oh, yeah.
like terrifying.
Where he's, yeah, having like a panic attack.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
yeah. But overall, I gotta say, thoroughly enjoyed it.
Mhm.
Um, I would give that a 9 out of 10.
Good.
Actually, since I would give that a 9 out of 10, I'm gonna move Mission Impossible to an 8 out of 10. So
Okay, yeah.
yeah.
Because this is higher than that, I would
Oh,
think.
for sure, yeah.
Thank
Uh,
God.
yes. What do you think?
I would give it 8 out of 10 for
Okay.
sure.
All right. Cool, cool. So we're staying consistent.
Yeah,
I like it.
just moving
Awesome.
up the star ratings.
Right. Yeah. I like it. So
Good.
yeah. If everyone hasn't seen these movies, if you're looking for something to see, highly recommend both of them. Um,
Barbenheimer. I mean,
Barbenheimer. Yeah. Well, we'll talk about Barbie next time because I saw it and I have thoughts and feelings, and I'm excited to talk about it.
I
So,
can't even get in to see it. I was in
I
line for
mean,
Mission Impossible because I know
yeah,
that's going to leave theaters first,
yeah,
and then it was like the two people in front of us were getting tickets. It was sold out. It was like there isn't a seat available. I
nope,
was just like, has it? It's been like 2 weeks, right? And now it's like
yeah, yep.
it's going to
It's
be two
insane.
more.
Oh, for sure.
This
It's
is like a Titanic version of when
yeah,
Titanic was out. You know.
yeah. It's except that you can reserve seats, so it's even more like it's more extreme almost.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but
Which
yeah,
can be good if I find a opening
I
two
mean, yeah,
weeks from
that's the thing.
now.
At least that way you'll like know
Yeah.
versus going and then being like, well, shit. Um, yeah, we when we bought the tickets to see Oppenheimer, because we bought them a couple days early, we were looking at Barbie too, trying to get in the same weekend.
Yeah.
Um, Everything was sold out. And we
Hmm.
were looking at Plymouth, which had like, oh my God, I think they were on like 10 different theaters in the theater or 10 different screens.
Oh.
So I mean there were a ton of options.
Yes.
All of them were
It's
sold out.
still playing every hour on the
Yeah.
hour, like
Oh
around
yeah.
here. Yeah.
Yeah. It was like 6:15, 6:45, 7:30, 7:45. And I was like, none of them. We couldn't get into any of them unless we wanted to sit in the very front row or
Hmm.
like the front corner. And I'm like, I'm too old for that shit. I'll die.
Yeah.
Um, so that's not gonna happen.
Unless it reclines, that's your only
Right.
hope.
Yeah. And so we looked every day for or that night as we were looking at tickets, we looked through the whole next week, every day at all the showings, completely full
Yeah.
for the entire week. And we're like, you've
Damn.
got to be kidding. There was
Yeah.
one option, but we're like, we don't know if we can make that. So we're going to wait a couple of days, figure it out. By the time we went back, it was booked already or sold
Hmm.
out. I was like, God dang it. So, we did
Multi-generational
eventually,
film.
yep,
Yeah.
we did eventually get in, which was exciting. But oh man, it took a hot minute. So if you look at Showtime's a week and a half out, you'll find something. You just gotta
Yeah.
look for something a week and a half
A
out.
week and a half. I don't even know what I'm doing. Like I'm literally living week to week. Like right now, I finally got to see a movie. Well, okay, I saw Oppenheimer, but I made time for that. But it
Yeah.
was just like
You gotta make time for Barbie. It's worth it.
yeah,
I will
I'm
tell you
getting
that.
there. It's just I've been making a film, so
Oh, that's
the
true.
life of a filmmaker takes you away from watching films a lot
I will give you that. Yeah,
when you're making a film or
yeah.
working.
What have you been making, sir?
A Star Wars fan film called
Woo!
Kyber Run. Kyber Run.
Kyber Run.
Do
I
you know
like
what
it.
Kyber is, Rehana?
I was actually wondering what it was when we were on set. I some No, not really.
No, tell
Like a
me.
crystal
What
of
do you think
like
it
a
is?
crystal of some sort that it basically is like
Hmm.
the juice of the lightsabers. Like that's what makes lightsabers lightsabers and not
Yeah,
just fun swords.
You're right. It's the
Woo!
double A of the lightsaber.
There we go.
Yes.
The double A. The
The
Energizer
batteries
fan.
of the lightsaber.
Yeah.
Exactly.
They're just colored.
Or the light bulb.
Red, green, blue,
It's
purple.
both. See,
All
that's
of
what
the above.
they need to figure out is both the light bulb and the battery together. That's basically what a kyber crystal is for Star Wars. So
Okay. So okay. What about it? Like, what about the movie? Oh man, sentences. Lord, this is great for an audio format or platform. Tell us about how kyber fits into this movie.
Yes. So, for those of you who don't know, kyber crystal is just like we said, powers all the Jedi lightsabers, all the Sith lightsabers, and even the Death Star is powered by kyber crystal. So, in the lore of Star Wars, and I don't know everything about Star Wars, so that's why it's good that I had Lee. I had other people like Nick and Kevin on set who know kind of the real kind of what's in canon for the series, just like with MCU, right?
Yeah.
So, you know what fits for Marvel, what doesn't in the film. So
exactly.
This is a fan fiction type of move on it. So I decided wouldn't it be fun to create a story about a certain type of kyber crystal that's being rescued from it. So this film takes place after Empire, but before Return of the Jedi, inside of the lore of Star Wars.
Okay.
So I can leave it there, I suppose, and let other people fill in the blanks as they wish.
Yeah.
But in my mind's eye, it's always been that how did Luke get his lightsaber, his second one in Return of the Jedi? Because he lost his, right?
I would have to go back and rewatch the movies.
Yeah.
Which
and then
we could probably do.
Yeah. And then when I rewatched Return of the Jedi recently just to kind of understand okay, what really happened here, and Empire. And then I was watching that Return of the Jedi back and then thinking about how this film could fit in with that.
Yeah.
I was oh, that's so cool. That makes sense now. That's interesting.
I like it.
How much did the Emperor know? It's or something, it was just, to me, it was just very satisfying to think my film could possibly fit into a storyline like that.
Absolutely.
And that's what fan films are about. You just want to be a part of the magic.
Yeah.
So, and you dream about that. So since Disney's not really knocking on my door to make a Star Wars film, I think.
Not yet.
Yeah.
Wait till they see it.
I love watching all the series and
for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Everything
They're
Andor,
so
Mandalorian,
Yep.
Boba Fett.
And even
and now
Ahsoka. And now Ahsoka's coming out. I'm so excited.
Yeah. Yeah, I have to watch Rebels. I have to watch all that could have been helpful.
Bad Batch. Yeah.
Yep. But then this kind of this would be before Mandalorian because this Mandalorian's after Return of the Jedi, right?
Yep.
So,
yeah.
And then as we confirm with a certain X-wing, but yeah, it's just that whole era around Return of the Jedi. So I probably should have said that in a future podcast. Haha. But I will. But anyways, Return of the Jedi is probably my favorite of the original three.
So it makes sense that you would want to kind of jump in after that story and keep it going.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we made this film. Obviously, we've kind of talked about it before on fan films in general, but in our previous podcast. But in this one, it's just we're in production as we're recording this podcast, and by the time it's out, it'll be done, or hopefully the production will be done.
Yeah.
But that's
Fingers crossed.
why I could only see those two movies in the last 2 months.
Which is
So
understandable. Yeah.
yeah.
Barbie will be in theaters until Christmas, so you're fine.
Yeah. I figured like that's a hard
Yeah.
September date. I'm sure
Oh,
it's
for
still there.
sure. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's exciting.
Um, but yeah, it's been exhausting. It's
Would you do
been
it again? Like, would you do a sequel or even another a fan film in another realm story?
yeah, I definitely would. I would scale it back significantly
For sure.
because this is probably one of the biggest productions I've ever done in terms of actors and
Oh yeah.
like just production design in general because
Mhm.
you have to have costumes that fit the characters, you have to have the lightsabers,
Yep.
you have to have visual effects on the back end, you have to have the sound effects that make it work, you have I mean, I've
So
watched fan
much.
films on YouTube of Star Wars type just to do
Yeah.
research, and they are varying in size and scope.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it's just maybe there'll be a shorter version to get it in for a competition called Saber Comp,
Ooh.
which is due for February of 2024, but we'll see. But
That'd be sweet.
yeah, but it
Yeah.
has to be 6 minutes with credits, and it's like,
Oh, really?
not sure if
That's
that's
tight.
possible. Yeah,
Yeah.
by
Interesting.
February, you say.
You never know.
And
Anything's
music,
possible.
composing music, we're
Oh,
hoping
yeah.
to get done, and
Yep.
then credits, you name it. So yeah, and then we have like the group has like 30 people in it, but I think it's like
Yeah.
20 in the cast or something. But
Hmm.
there are people who play multiple characters to fill in,
Yeah.
and it's like almost nonstop action. It's like
Oh, for sure.
when devising a script based on the action, that was hard. So
Mhm.
yeah,
But a really good challenge. And I think that
yes,
you rose to that challenge. Like
yeah.
it's yeah.
Because like there were parts of me where it was like, this is gonna suck later, but it was like, this is kind of cool though. I want to see this happen
Right.
if we can.
Yeah. Like being able to like meet that head on and say, okay, this is going to be difficult. I don't even know
Yeah,
if we can do it. I don't know if it's going to work if we do it. I don't know how it's going to turn out. It's going to suck to have to like edit and put together and do all this stuff. But knowing that if you do it, it could look so cool. And that could be something that you did and created, made happen.
exactly.
And that's the thing. That's the driver. And I mean, there's some super cool shit that you guys did. And so I'm excited.
And you were there for one day.
I was there for one whole day. It was awesome. So I mean, I'm excited to see it
Yeah.
for sure. Yeah.
I'm excited to show it. I'm excited to share it. I've been looking at other like professional filmmakers who have made Star Wars fan films,
Mhm.
and they have them on IMDb, and it's like you still
Really?
get credit for it because you just can't make money on it, basically.
Oh,
So
I
you
mean,
can
that's
still
kind of cool.
make your credit for it, which is great. I'm like,
That's nice.
oh, okay, fine. I will do
Yeah.
that then.
Right? That's sweet.
'Cause it's like, oh, these very professional people also did it, and they used like Darth Maul and Obi-Wan,
Oh, damn.
and I was like, how?
You can
Oh,
do that?
exactly. I thought the same thing, and then it's
Yeah.
like, well, it's still up there. It's not like
Right.
disappeared or anything. So
Interesting. All
yeah,
right.
and they're okay with it. I mean, it just adds to the love of Star Wars. I think for Disney, it's like
That's
free
true.
marketing.
Right.
But
Yeah. That's a good point.
plus, we do love Star Wars, so
We do.
why spoil the fun? So,
Right. Exactly.
Um,
Love that.
yeah. So it's and just to clear the air, the production did begin before the strike, and
Yes.
we are not working with any. We're not affiliated with
Union.
Lucasfilm or Disney, so
Yeah.
we're not even in that realm, and no
Yep.
one is SAG on set either. So
Yeah. Yeah.
and it's all voluntary, so that's what a fan film is, really.
Right.
So, yeah.
Just loving Star Wars and showing up to, you know, play with some lightsabers and
Yeah, and that's what I had to keep reminding myself at the end of the day. Even though I want to work hard, I want to put the
Right.
best foot forward I can to make this film, from what I can do with the camera and editing.
Yeah.
But and everyone else who are like actual stunt
Yep.
performers. I mean, like how often do you get to work with those people? It's just like
Right.
that's
Yeah.
something special too,
Yeah.
and especially on something like this where
Yeah.
like those things all collide into one colliding pictures. Anyways,
Right. Yeah. Love it.
yeah,
Well, I, for one, am very excited to see it.
me too. Can't wait to
Yeah,
see it 100 times in the editing room. No.
that's okay.
Yeah.
Once it's done, you're gonna be like, hell yeah.
Yeah, and that's good too with editing to have kind of it. The group is kind of like a support system for me too.
Yeah.
Being like, oh, that's cool. Let's share that with the group or something to keep
Right.
motivated to keep going. You know.
Exactly. Yeah. Especially since everyone, I mean, because it's so fun and everyone involved is obviously very into fan filmmaking or Star Wars or both. And so knowing that when you share that, they're gonna be like, this is so sweet. It just keeps kind of like ramping you up to.
As a filmmaker too, it's such a challenge to do scheduling and locations, especially in a no budget situation. Well, not no budget, but people are, like I said, voluntarily doing this. But I have to like pay for meals, pay for insurance on certain things, and make sure the locations work, make sure everyone shows up to that location at a certain time. And it was week to week. It was like football. It was like every Sunday and Monday. So it was like Sunday football, Monday night football. It's like, that's exactly how it went.
Yes.
And then we were training on Wednesdays for the next week, every week, just to make sure everyone had their,
choreography
stunts
done.
Yeah, stunts and choreography figured out to adapt to the set. And so that reminded me a lot of football. I was just kind of like, yep, every Sunday, every Monday, whatever it is, gotta show up to play. So
no kidding. Speaking of football, preseason starts tonight.
Oh, yeah. I'm still in production, so nothing else exists until that's done. Honestly,
that's okay because preseason doesn't matter. It's just kind of weird to me, and I'm having trouble facing that because that means summer's almost over. So it's also a good thing that you still have a little bit of summer left to be able to finish it off. But
and then hopefully do the next production before winter. So
fingers crossed.
Yeah.
Hopefully it's a late winter. Maybe winter doesn't even show up. No, because that's climate change. Oh, I don't know. Oh my God. I don't even know what to hope for anymore.
Yeah. And hopefully we can talk to other people about fan films. We have some interesting things hopefully on deck to talk about, but
I think so.
There's some fun things going on in the Twin Cities in general. And summer. It's hard to give up your summer as well as show up to set where you're not getting paid. And that's why it was important to me to make sure, especially on long days, that people are at least fed.
For sure. Yeah.
That's important. Because would you want to show up to that set? I've heard some horror stories of like, there wasn't even water. I'm like, what? It was 90 degrees or something. Like, why?
Yeah, that'd be wild.
I get it if you're new and you're trying to do something, but
you did a great job with that. I think you had a really fun and positive set that people were happy to be at. So.
Good. Yeah, that's what you want. And obviously anyone who was practicing since February through to now August.
I mean, that in itself shows like the level of commitment that everyone had to this project and how much they wanted to be involved, and they were happy about it though. So that's huge.
That was part of the culling process too. You didn't have to show up to every practice, of course, or it was just based on what Lee had available and he was willing to do it.
Yeah.
And we're we're extremely lucky to have as devoted people and fans,
Yeah,
obviously, also.
absolutely. Mm-hmm.
So we're all excited for Ahsoka. So.
Oh, no kidding. Well, I'm excited to get to talk next time, maybe with more people about
Oh,
the
it will
film in
be
a
with
little
more
more
people.
depth.
Yeah,
Uh,
upcoming.
yeah. So that's going to be really fun. Everyone definitely tune in for that. Yeah. Well, I think that that's going to be all we have for you today. Because I'm not going to dive into Barbie until Alan sees it, and we're going to chat more about the film in depth next time. So until then, this has been Film in Minnesota.